Everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is your friendly neighborhood farmer Raznak, and today, in this episode of Talking Tractors, we're going to talk about the big buds. That's right, these big behemoths of just goodness that they are. I don't know what else to say. I've been wanting to do a video on these. I think these are like super interesting. I'm a fan of Welker's Farms, and if you live underneath a rock and you don't know who the Welkers are, go check them out on YouTube. Just Google or just YouTube search Welkers, and you'll find them. Great video. And actually went to a farm show, and I got to meet Nick Welker, and it was really cool. But I've been wanting to do a video on these. I think the tractors themselves are very interesting. I don't use them much because I don't really do big farming. I may in the future, but I think they're really cool, and I think it's great that Giants included them in the game, and that now we can get them as mods. I have four different mods we're going to look at today, and not just talk about the mods, but we're also going to talk about the history behind Big Bud, the company, and kind of history about the tractors, as much information as I could find, about some money, how much these things cost, how much did they cost, and kind of some of the specifications, the ones I can find. So without further ado, let's talk about Big Bud as a brand. So the Big Bud brand was a brand of articulated tractors built by the Northern Manufacturing Company, which was later renamed Big Bud Tractors, and that the company is from Haver, if I'm saying that right. I could be saying it wrong. I think it's Haver, Montana. Founded in 1968 and eventually went out of business in 1992. The last Big Bud rolled off the line in 1992, and there hasn't been any new Big Bud tractors made since then. Now, if you've watched stuff on the internet, these things get redone a lot. A lot of people use these, especially out in the prairies of America and Canada and the wheat belt. And of course, being based in Montana, the Welkers, who are a farm in Montana, they use these, which I think is really cool. So the company's main focus was for high horsepower tractors to be used in the wheat belt. The first two tractors that Big Bud built were the 250 series, and those were purchased by Semenza Farms in 1968, and they're located between Fort Benton, Montana and Chester, Montana, and he used them on his 35,000 acre farm. Then Big Bud in the 80s, they went bankrupt and were bought by Meisner Brothers in 1985, and then of course, in the 80s, there was a massive farming recession, and there's a lot of really interesting information out there about how hard it was on farmers in the 80s. And then due to the farming recession, competition by other companies, because if anyone plays the game, we know now that, you have the Steiger series, you have you have 1,000 horsepower tractors now in Fendt and Kloss and Case, and all the companies now make big horsepower tractors. But at the time, there weren't many. There really weren't. These were one of the go-to guys. So there were five. In some fun facts about Big Bud, there are actually 5 Big Bud models that were built and painted in what was known as Bafis Blue, and this was for Bob Bafis of the Oregon-based Bafis Farms. And then some of them have been rebuilt or customized in the Bafis Blue, so you can find them. And there are also interesting tidbit. Back when we were friends with Iran, there are actually models built in what is known as Iranian gold, which were sent to Iran. So Big Bud tractors were actually sent to Iran back in the 80s. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's Big Bud history. I hope you enjoyed that part of it. Next, we'll jump into each one of the tractors and the mods themselves. We'll talk about them a little bit, and we'll keep on moving. See you in just a second. All right, the first tractor we're going to look at is the Big Bud 450. Now, in my research, I found out that there's a few different 450s. There's a 450-20, there's a 450-50, and then there's a 450. Now, I'm just going on the decals on the tractor. This one just says 450. On the tractor itself, there aren't any. So, according to that, this tractor was actually built from 1986 to 1989. I could not find a price on a 450, and I can't find any of them for sale on the internet. The closest thing I found was a 1982 400, which is $145,000, and a 1981 525/50, which you can buy for $150,000. I can't find any 450s on the internet for sale, so I don't know how many were built. I just don't know if there are any out there. And people who are more informed than me probably can figure it out. But the tractor itself was built with a Detroit diesel 8-cylinder 12.1 liter engine, put out 450 horsepower, had a full power shift transmission with 12 forward and 2 reverse gears. And the tractor, the base tractor, base setup unloaded was around 40,000 pounds. Of course, it was a 4-wheel drive tractor with cab standard. And that is the Big Bud 450. And we'll fire this up. And I've never heard of 450 in real life, so I don't know how realistic sounding this is. But in the game, they're awesome. I mean, these things are just fun to use. And then the mod itself is really great. It has the animated belt, animated fans. It's really, really nice looking. I mean, everything's very well detailed. So super cool mod. I mean, you have the drive shaft spinning, you know, hoses, all that stuff. Chain lights, all that good stuff. Great mod. Now, the 450 you actually can find in the in-game mod hub, which is great. You don't have to go anywhere special. You don't have to go to any website or Facebook or anything. You can actually just find this on the mod hub. And that, folks, is the Big Bud 450. And if you haven't noticed what map we're on, Welker's Farms. Why wouldn't we be on Welker Farms? Right? Alright. We're going to jump over to the 600, and I'll see you in just a second. Alright, here we have the Big Bud 600, and again, like the 450, there were a few different 600s that I could find. There was a 600, a 600/50. That might have been it. Information for this tractor is actually really hard to find, unlike the 450 and of course the famous 747, which we'll look at here in a little bit. But the 600 is actually really hard to find. You cannot find production years for these. I could not find anywhere what years this tractor was actually made in. I did find some engine and transmission information. This tractor came with a Cummins KTA 1150 18.8 liter engine, put out 600 horsepower, power shift transmission with 9 forward and 2 reverse. This tractor, you can actually find these online for sale. I found one online. It's $249,000 for this tractor, and it didn't have a year listed. I could not find the year listed, so either they don't know. It's like the mystery tractor. Nobody knows when it was made. This mod I actually found on the internet. This is original Giants model, but in the mod description, the mod author is listed as Giants and then EKED/Singularity. I don't know who they are. Again, I found this on the internet. This one has the Welker Farms logo actually on the tractor and up at the top between the big buds, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if the Welkers have a 600. I know they have a 425 and a 525. They might have a 600. I don't know. I don't know if they do. Alright, so again, the Big Bud 6 Power Shift 600. So let's fire this bad boy up. Again, same animations. You have the fan, and the belt moves, which I thought was pretty cool. Let's see. Yep, drive shaft moves. Now this one, I didn't see any hoses come off of it, but again, it may just be the implement I'm using. I'm using the in-game big air cart here because I didn't have any. This is the closest one I could get to match kind of what the Welkers use here, planting wheat. Smokestack, and again we'll jump in the cab. I think it's pretty much the same interior as the 450. It's the same. Alright. That is the Big Bud 600. Alright, we're going to jump over to the monster of monsters, the big 16V 747. Alright, see you in just a second. Alright folks, here we are, the Big Bud 16V 747 1100 horsepower monster. Now, it hasn't always been 1100 horsepower. There's actually a neat little story behind this one. All the information I'm giving to you is actually from williamsbigbud.com. They actually have a website dedicated to this tractor. There were only one of these ever built. And I think that's what makes this tractor so unique. It's the only one of its kind, as you see it sitting right here. So in 1977, the Big Bud 747 tractor was built in Haver, Montana. The tractor was built by Ron Harmon and the crew of Northern Manufacturing Company. It was originally built to produce 760 horsepower using a 16-cylinder Detroit diesel engine. The tractor measures 27 feet long, 20 feet wide with the duals, and 14 feet tall. Tires were specially made at the time by United Tire Company of Canada, and the tires themselves, and the scale is, I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of on. Imagine I'm 6 foot tall. The tires are taller than me. 8 feet in diameter are these tires. When fully loaded with a 1,000-gallon fuel tank, this full tractor tips the scales at over 100,000 pounds, and I actually found a more accurate weight of, was it 100? I think it was 130,000 pounds when full kitted. 130,000 pounds. Originally, this tractor was designed for the Rossi brothers. They're cotton farmers in Bakersfield, California. They used the tractor for deep ripping. They owned and operated the 16V 747 for 11 years. After leaving the cotton farm of the Rossi brothers, the Big Bud found its way to Florida. The second owners, Willowbrook Farms, used the tractor for deep ripping purposes. And then Willowbrook Farms retired the Big Bud and left it to rest. And then in 1997, it found its way back home to Montana, only 60 miles from where it was built. The Williams brothers of Big Sandy, Montana, purchased the tractor and brought it to their farm in Chateau County. Sorry if I butchered that. The Williams brothers used the tractor for cultivation purposes, pulling an 80-foot cultivator. The tractor can work more than 1 acre per minute at speeds of 8 miles per hour. Except its new paint job, chrome stacks, and a whopping 900 plus horsepower, the Big Bud looks like it did when it rolled out of the Northern Manufacturing Company building back in 1977. So it's not very different than it was originally produced. Now, so this is the largest tractor made in the 20th century. There are bigger tractors now, but at the time this was the largest tractor, again purchased by Rossi Farms in California. It is currently on display at the Heartland Museum in Clarion, Iowa. That was horrible. Clarion, Iowa, and courtesy of the Williams brothers. You can see that on the side there. And is now an 1100 horsepower tractor. It was 760, then it got upgraded to 860, then to 960, and now is 1100 100 horsepower. And this actually uses a Detroit diesel 16-cylinder, 2-cycle engine. 2-cycle, which I thought was really cool. All right, let's jump in the Big Bud 16V747. Thing just sounds cool, doesn't it? Jump in the cab real quick. Really, the cab looks great. Oh, these tractors are just fun. I mean, especially if you have these big farms, like a map like Welker's, or these big 4X farms where you can get out and use these big articulated beasts. So much fun. All right. I love the dual stacks. I mean, look, this thing is huge. It's just huge. And you can actually get triples in-game on this tractor. You can put triples on this thing. Could you imagine? I mean, you won't even fit down the road. Great tractor. Now, a couple more things. Again, built in 1977, the only one built. Originally was built at a cost of $300,000. Now, a lot of people are like, wow, that's not much for a tractor. $300,000 in 1977. If you do the calculations for inflation, you're looking at $1.27 million what this tractor would cost today. And probably more than that. I mean, if you think about a very small group of people built this tractor, custom built. I mean, so you're looking at millions of dollars if you were trying to do something like that today. All right. Big Bud 16V747. I got one little treat, one little more little take on the Big Buds, and we'll finish up the video. All right. I'll jump over there, and if you were watching in the background, you may have saw a hint what it is. All right. See you in just a second. All right. Now, I know these aren't real, but this is actually a pretty fun mod and a neat little mod if you're not playing any form of realism, if you're just wanting to have fun in the game. We have the Big Bud Pack by Ikonik. And if you've had any of their other mods, Ikonik makes some really neat stuff. They do a lot of custom colors. They make mods with tons of options. And this is just a few of them. You can actually get some different trim options. So you have the John Deere 8970, just a Big Bud 450 reskin. You have the Ford 1156 Versatile, again reskinned. The Caterpillar, Case International, and the New Holland 9684. Now I know these, I don't know what these tractors look like in real life, so we all know these are Big Buds, just reskinned, but really fun. I think it's a fun mod, and not only can you do that, but we'll jump actually into the mod itself in the shop, and I'll show you. Like I said, we have the 450 here, the 600, and the 747. And this 450 is actually a version, this mod itself, the one I showed you, is a version by JHG Modding. Has a different sound, and a few, you actually can put the oversize logo on the back. And you have wide, standard, and twin wheels that you can put on there. And that one's actually by JHG, so they kind of have their own version. Here's the 600. Said, and pretty much you can just do wide and twin wheels. And then, of course, the 747. And like I said, you can put triples on this thing. I don't know if you're pulling boats or something. And but yeah, the Ikonik, you can get both the 450 or the 747. You can and they come with tons of options, and we'll just do the yeah, we'll do the 450 because you get the different color options. So first, right off the bat, this is the color palette. Tons of colors, the metallic colors. I mean, you can do some really cool combinations on these. Some really, really nice, just different stuff. blue candy. I mean, look at some of these colors are awesome, and that's iconic. Jump down here, drop at the New Holland. So you have different wheels. You can do Goodyear, Midas, Michelin, Trelleborg, or you can even put tracks on this thing. Big Bud with tracks, I think is really cool. You can do widespread triples, widespread duals, twins, wide tires, stand. I mean, you have tons of tire options, and then you have these trim options. Original, of course, the original Big Bud trim, and then you have the Case, the Caterpillar, Ford, John Deere, New Holland, back to the original, and we'll like that gray color. Now, also, Ikonik put, which I believe are just different channels. There's the Squad, Punchy Farmer, Papa Smurf, Nick the Hick, Morpheus Simulator, Ikonik Acres, Garrett Plays, Expendables. So different modding groups and different YouTubers. You actually can put on the side of your tractor. You can actually get a front 3-point put on this thing, which is pretty wild. And or just a front hitch or standard, and then you can do the Cummins. You have the 500, the 600, or the 800 horsepower beast, and this actually shows up really good in New Holland blue. You can see the teeth, which I think is so fun. So fun. But yeah, that's the 450. And then if you jump over here, you have the same color palette in the 747. The only thing is, you can't put the design is actually different. So let's do something that shows up red. So you actually can it changes this. So you have Wild Acres, original, basic, Bale Barn, Exley, Expendables version, Garrett Plays, the Ikonik Bad Bud, Morpheus, Nick the Hick, Papa Smurf, Punchy, Squad, Sunset Farms, Tailor Made, and there's Welkers. So you can actually change it up. And this one has different lighting. You can get big work light, stock lighting, again, front hitch, front 3-point, and you can do Beast Mode, which is 1500 horsepower. Again, I don't know what you're pulling, and all different kinds of the triple wheels. And then you can do tracks on this thing. I mean, it's just insane stuff you can get. Yeah. Again, that's the Ikonik pack. I just thought I'd throw it in there, just something fun, something different to look at. New Holland 90. I mean, I think that with the trim, these actually look pretty cool. They look neat, and I think they did a really good job on these trim options. Definitely a different take on it, and something fun and something worth looking at. Right, so let's fly over here. Yep, and as I said, we were on Welker Farms. This is a map by Mapper's Paradise. If you haven't played it yet, there's all my stuff kind of staged all over the place. And I thank you guys for coming by. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed doing the research. I really like making these talking tractor videos and finding out more about the stuff that's out there and the real history behind some of the stuff we use in game. As always, everybody, please give me a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, let me know what you think, and stay safe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.